This is Fresh Air. I'm Ken Tucker, sitting in for Terry Gross, and while the cat's away, the mice will play. Today, we feature a special concert with a unique extended family. Sisters Kate and Anna and Jane McGarrigle, Loudon Wainwright III, Kate and Loudon's children Rufus and Martha, and Anna's daughter Lily Lankin. They were accompanied by Chaim Tannenbaum and Michel Pepin on guitar, Joel Zifkin on violin, and Lily's father Dane Lankin on backup vocals. All of them appear on a new CD called The McGarrigle Hour. Kate and Anna were raised speaking English and French in their native Quebec and have gathered a fervent following for their serene, witty, and poignant albums over the past 2 decades. Loudon Wainwright, the wasp with the most sting in American folk music, is known for songs that offer fearless glimpses into his personal life. And at the age of 24, Rufus Wainwright has released his own first album to admiring reviews for its distinctive range of pop, folk, and cabaret influences. We recorded the concert at Indre Studios in South Philadelphia, where the scene quickly took on the loose, genial air of a family reunion. During the sound check, Loudon and Rufus were making plans for lunch in Manhattan. Kate asked Rufus where his solo tour was taking him next, and everyone else was trying to figure out their airline schedules back to Canada. After some spirited debate, the first song the clan settled on was Loudon's School Days, on which you'll hear the paired harmonies of Kate and Anna, then Rufus and Martha, and Loudon and Chaim Tannenbaum.
Blaspheming, but it blue dream baby boy. Oh, how I made them turn their heads. The downy brownie girls, they jump for joy. Bade me bless them in their bed.
St. Andrew had sufficed. In the spring I had great hunger. I was Buddha, I was Christ. You wicked wise men, where's your wonder? You Pharisees, one day will pay. See my lightning, hear my thunder. I know the in Delaware when I was younger.
Loudon. That was the first song on your first album, released when, like in 1970 or 71?
It was recorded in 69 and the record came out in 70.
Yeah. You now sing it, all of you, including your children past school age. What does the song mean to you now when you hear it and perform with them?
Well, it's exciting and Just thinking of all that publishing money I'm making.
Yes, Kate, it's a little surprising to see a Loudon song opening up this CD. What was that gesture of generosity about?
It was Anna's idea.
It was Anna's idea. Anna, what was that idea behind that very generous...
Well, the very first time I ever heard Loudon on record, I guess I heard that song, and it's stuck with me ever since. I think it's a fantastic song. I think it's always contemporary. There's a great youthfulness about it that I relate to because I'm such a young thinking person.
How did you come up with the idea for the McGarrigle Hour to do this recording?
It was actually Joe Boyd's idea. He's the producer on it. He produced our first 2 records. And when we signed with him in 1993 to do a record for Rykodisc, we wanted to do a record of our songs, and he said he wanted to do a live record at some point down the line, but he didn't define like what live meant. It could have been anything, like in a concert or something. And he actually came up with the idea. He thought like we can get some names on there, we could sell more records. It's kind of the way they do things there. And then he called me up. He said, "Do you mind if I asked Loudon to be on?" I said, "No, not at all. It'd be great idea, you know." And
but also you have to say that there was a lot. Sorry, I'm Rufus, by the way. But you have to say that there was a lot of albums coming out together. Like mine was coming out, and my father had just come out with one, and it.
Little Ship.
Yeah, and there was sort of. My sister Martha was writing a lot of songs at that point, so
You were
pretty
saturating.
pungent period.
Yes, you were saturating the market at that point.
we were trying. Well, it's kind of like why all those turtles go out and all get born at the same time. We figure if you send everything out at the same time, something will catch, something will, something will make it to the water, something will live. Yeah.
And it's one thing to record these things in the studio, but then to go out on tour together. I mean, whose idea was that, to go out and actually perform these songs?
Well, the record company wanted us to go, and we said, we can't do any of these songs. Like, we didn't have anybody with us. Everybody was in different places. So the first person we drafted was Lily Lankin, who at this point is still the cheapest, costs the least amount of money. So we put her on all Emmylou's parts, and
That's
then
Anna's daughter.
Anna's daughter, yes. And then we happened to run into Loudon. We were doing some shows with Loudon on the West Coast, and we didn't really rehearse the stuff a whole lot. Just like before going on stage, we kind of like, can you take this part? Could you be, Loudon? Could you be Rufus? Lily? Could you be, whatever? We just we had all the lyrics and stuff like that.
Well, I guess I should explain to our listeners, Kate and Loudon separated, divorced in the late 70s. I think I wonder how, if you had any trepidation about reuniting musically. Was this a very amicable thing? What sort of reaction did you have when you were invited to go out?
I was when I got the call, Kate called me, and I was very pleased to be asked. Which is not to say that I wasn't a little nervous about it. I mean,
in what
a way, well, we've kind of reunited as a family, at least
Right.
the 4 of us, and then the extended family, It was great to see Dane again, and, all of our friends, and play together, and it felt very natural once we started doing it.
Uh-huh.
And I think also, Loudon and I used to sometimes play around the living room 25 odd years ago, and we always had fun kind of playing together. It was nice.
Uh-huh. We're talking to a gaggle of Wainwrights and McGarrigles. I'm Ken Tucker. This is Fresh Air. Rufus, your influences seem to be very different from that of your parents, who are essentially rooted in folk music. What kind of music were you also interested in when you were growing up?
Well, I was sort of normal for a while as a young child, into the Eurythmics or even stuff that my parents were into, like the Everly Brothers, and we listened to a lot of Edith Piaf in Montreal and French and stuff, and pretty standard stuff for my musical family and also for my generation. But then at 14, I had sort of a religious cataclysmic experience with opera, and I got very, very into opera, and for about five years after that, all I ever listened to was opera, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
And thought myself, and had this dream, which I still sort of maybe have, of being a composer and total artiste.
He didn't want to play the banjo on the back porch.
I didn't.
Oh, that was it. There's a song you have on your album called Beauty Mark, which is about your mother. How'd you come to write this, to choose this as an image to make into a song?
Well, my mother and I had a very, still have, and like a lot of fathers, like a lot of fathers and daughters, like a lot of mothers and sons have a very intense relationship. And basically, she was always very interested in what I was doing musically, but on one hand very interested, but on the other hand quite critical and quite, and wanted her 2 cents put into, whatever, was not afraid to speak her mind. Anyways, and for a long time I was writing, this was right after I'd gotten into opera and composing and stuff, and I think I was writing these songs which were tremendous, which were just a little over the top and kind of over dramatic and stuff, and she'd always tell me that. So you're never going to get anywhere, nobody wants to hear that stuff, and this
So
song...
she was tremendously supportive.
Yes, supportive, yes. And, but yeah. And anyway, so when I wrote Beauty Mark, it was a bit of and that's the song I think you're talking about. Beauty Mark, it was basically sort of a rebuttal to that, to say, all right, well, I can write some kind of fast, jingly, vague pop tune if you want, and whatever. And it was basically to shut her up a little.
But it also turned out
in
to
a
be
good way,
to be a very pretty song.
Yeah, but in the subject of the song is, it's a loving song, but it's also, there's a bit of friction in there as well.
Right. Would you play it for us?
Sure.
Thanks. Can you do that now?
Yeah, I can do that.
What? Play?
Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I never had it, I never wanted it, I never had your beauty mark, nor did I have your black hair and hazel eyes. My early childhood was not as simple as yours said in the country. No, I did not have a fear of nuns who dressed in black, but I do have your taste. I had no radio show, nor did I have homemade clothes, homemade curtains of the same material. I never had it, I never wanted it, I never had your beauty mark, but I do have your taste, and I do have your red face and long hands. I think careless, sing a lovely Norma. You prefer Robeson in Deep River. I may not be so manly, but still I know you love me, even if I don't have your beauty mark.
That's young Rufus. We're listening to a concert with the McGarrigle and Wainwright families and assorted friends, recorded at the Indre Studios in South Philadelphia. The same voices can be heard on the new Hannibal CD, The McGarrigle Hour. We'll be back after a short break. This is Fresh Air.
Strong many language pray,
Back with more of our concert with Kate and Anna McGarrigle, Loudon Wainwright, most of their children, and some of their friends. Loudon, one could compile a good jam-packed CD's worth of songs that you've written about your family, your marriage, your children as infants, as adolescents. Has writing like this sometimes estranged you even further from your family?
Well, everybody's still talking to me.
Uh-huh. Well, I'd like to ask you to do one of those family-related biographical songs. This one involving Martha.
Who's in the building?
Yes, yes, she is indeed. Called "Hitting You."
Yeah. Okay. This is it. Long ago I hit you. We were in the car. You were crazy in the back seat. It had gone too far. I pulled the auto over. I hit you with all my might. I knew right away it was too hard. I'd never make it right. I was aiming for your buttock, but I struck your outer thigh. You had on a bathing suit, and right before our eyes, suntan skin turned crimson where the hand had hit. And my palm stung from hitting you so hard that I hurt it. Against the law in Sweden, charges can be filed. Here it's all too common. A parent hits a child. On your face I saw the shock, then I saw the pain, then I saw the look of fear, the fear I'd strike again. Then I saw your anger, your defiant pride, and then I saw one teardrop, the rest you kept inside. I said I was sorry and I tried to clean the slate, but with that blow I'd sown a seed. I saw it was too late. These days things are awful between me and you. All we do is argue like two people who are through. I blame you, your friends, your school, your mother, and MTV. Last night I almost hit you. That blame belongs to me. Long ago I hit you. We were in the car. You were crazy in the back seat. It had gone too far. I pulled the auto over. I hit you with all my might. I knew right away it was too hard. I'd never make it right.
That's Loudon Wainwright. Thank you very much. Martha, I wanted to, the logical question to ask you is, how did you feel the first time you heard that song?
The first time I heard it, I remembered that incident, and I had forgotten it.
Oh, really?
And I was happy to remember it because I have a very bad memory. So in a lot of ways, I'm very happy to have these things, to be reminded of moments. You know, these
little cruel
But
moments.
they're little segments of time that, and you can remember the feeling. And I think I come off quite well in the song. I mean, I'm holding back my tears, and he feels really bad about it, and doesn't talk. I mean,
She really was very obnoxious that day. She deserved it.
I mean, the thing that I'm surprised about is that my reaction wasn't more obnoxious. You know.
Can you remember that time of your life? Can you remember Does one think in that
Yes.
time of
Well-
getting on one's parents' nerves?
Yeah, but also I think it's the whole thing of the back of the car and the bathing suit reminds me of the times that I spent with Loudon, which would be mostly in the summertime, you know, and going to the beach and so it conjures up that time, you know, spending with him.
Right.
There wasn't that much hitting going on.
No.
Yeah.
So Rufus could be a bratty brother, we're learning.
Oh, he was horrible.
Oh.
I was once pulled over by the police for hitting Rufus in the car.
Is that right?
And the police stopped me, and then I said, I can't drive. I'm all alone with these two kids. And the police took Rufus out, and he said, you behave and be a nice boy to your mother.
Really?
No, but also, Mother, we were crying, and he said to me, he said, the policeman said to me, did your mother hit you? And you had, not very hard. It wasn't that serious. But I said, and I knew immediately, though, I said no. Right. She didn't touch me.
In the dead of winter, and they were all wearing bathing suits.
But it's weird when like a law figure comes in.
But it's significant that you could remember that, and yet you would not be moved to write a song like that the way Loudon would be. What is that in you that does not become grist for the musical mill?
I don't like to write about hitting people. I'm a pacifist.
We're conducting music and family therapy here with the Wainwright and McGarrigle clans. More breakthroughs in the second half of our show. I'm the annoying cousin they never knew they had, Ken Tucker. This is Fresh Air.
Major funding for Fresh Air is provided by this and other NPR member stations, by Barnes & Noble, bookseller since 1873, online at barnesandnoble.com, AOL keyword BN, and by Columbia Legacy, whose Bob Dylan Live 1966 The Royal Albert Hall Concert documents Dylan's transformation from acoustic folk to electric rock music, available at record stores nationwide. This is NPR, National Public Radio.
Coming up, more with a whole gaggle of McGarrigles and Wainwrights as we continue our concert with Kate and Anna, Loudon, Rufus and Martha, and so many more.
Here comes the daddy, gonna knock me off my feet. Here comes the daddy, he's gonna knock us off our feet. Won't have to push too hard with me. I'm at that time these days where I'm easy. I will take the plunge and I will fall. I'll get up when I hit the floor.
This is Fresh Air. I'm Ken Tucker, hosting a concert with one of the best-known extended families in folk music, Kate, Anna, and Jane McGarrigle, Loudon Wainwright and his eldest children, Loudon and Kate used to be married, and assorted musical relations and friends. Loudon, Rufus, and Martha Wainwright all traffic in autobiography in their music, but I asked Kate about the fact that she and Anna seem to shy away from direct details about their lives in their own songs.
I think it's because we work as a duo. I mean, sometimes I think also like the basis for a lot of our songs aren't, I mean, there may be experiences we've had, but we try and put them a little bit like they're running through the thing, but we're not necessarily as literate. No, what's that called?
Literal.
Thank you, love.
Well, except for a
No.
song like I Eat Dinner, which is very direct and
Yes,
very...
but I didn't write that about me. I wrote
Mother.
no. I actually wrote that was a good example. I mean, that was happening to me. But I'd seen the image in a Frida Kahlo book, in the book about Frida Kahlo, when she's left alone and she says, for the first time in my life, I'm eating at a kitchen table and I'm eating leftovers. And I thought like, whoa, that's really kind of
Well, that's interesting because I would have thought that I Eat Dinner would indeed have been written about yourself.
Well, it is, but I watch television when I eat dinner. I don't eat in the kitchen.
I think that's a very good introduction to do that song.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
I eat dinner at the kitchen table by the light that switches on. I eat leftovers with mashed potatoes. No more candlelight, no more romance, no more small talk when the hunger's gone. When the hunger's gone, I eat dinner at the kitchen table, and I wash it down with Paul. I eat leftovers with mashed potatoes. No more candlelight, no more romance, no more small talk when the hunger stops. When the hunger stops. Never thought that I'd end up this way. I who love the sparks. Never thought my hair'd be turning to gray. It used to be so dark. So dark. Never thought that I'd end up like this. I who love the night. Never thought I'd be without a kiss. No one to turn off the light. Turn off the light. I eat dinner at the kitchen table with my daughter, who is no longer 13. We eat leftovers with mashed potatoes. No more candlelight, no more romance, no more small talk when the plate is clean. No more candlelight, no more romance, no more small talk when the hunger's gone. When the hunger's gone. When the hunger's gone. When the hunger's gone. When the hunger's gone.
It's Kate and Anna McGarrigle with Joel Zifkin on violin and Martha Wainwright on beautiful backing vocals. Thank you so much. That's a gorgeous song. It seems to me to transcend any kind of genre. I know, Anna, that the roots of a lot of your music is in folk music, that one of your first professional kind of configurations was you and Kate as half of the Mountain City Four.
That's right.
With Chaim Tannenbaum and Dane Lankin, who are here today playing. Did you consider yourself were folk singers? Were you folkies as you started out?
Yeah, we were folkies. We were folkies, and then we went through that sort of Beatle mania thing, but then we reverted back to the folk thing, but also retained a healthy appreciation and love for pop music. So I think we've tried to meld the two things.
Yeah, I think that's probably what
Yeah.
gives so many of your songs that kind of as I said, that kind of transcending any particular genre.
Anna always preferred the Supremes to the Weavers.
I see.
They were better looking.
And the Beatles versus Stones preference, which did you?
Both of them. I like both of them.
I see. There is a song on the CD, though, that kind of harks back to those folk roots. It's called Green, Green Rocky Road. Would you play that for us?
Yes, we'd be very happy to.
When I go to Baltimore, got no carpet on my floor. Please get up and follow me. We'll go down in a history. Green Rocky Road, promenade in green. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love.
See that crow up in the sky? He can't crow, neither can he fly. He can't sing, nor can he run. These black pains spattered on the sun. Green Rocky Road, promenade in green. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love. Little Miss Jane running to the ball. Don't you stumble, don't you fall. Don't you scream and don't you shout. When I sing, come running out. Green Rocky Road, promenade in green. Tell me who do you love, tell me who do you love.
Hooker, tooker, soda cracker. Does your mama chew tobacco? If your mama chews tobacco, hooker, tooker, soda cracker. Green
Rocky Road, promenade in green. Tell me who you love, tell me who you love. When I get to Baltimore, got no carpet on my floor. Come along and follow me. We go down in history. Green Rocky Road, promenade in green. Tell me who do you love, tell me who do you love.
That's a live performance of a folk music chestnut that can also be heard on a new CD, The McGarrigle Hour, featuring the McGarrigle and Wainwright clans with longtime collaborator Chaim Tannenbaum and other musicians. Our concert was recorded live in Philadelphia. We'll be back after a short break. This is Fresh Air. We're hearing a live recorded concert with the Wainwrights and the McGarrigles. After separate tours at home and abroad, they gathered to perform for us. I'd like to bring Lily Lankin, daughter of Anna, into the proceedings. Lily, growing up, what sort of relationship did you have with your Aunt Kate and your cousins? I'm curious.
I had a good relationship with them. We used to, when they all lived in Montreal, we used to hang out a lot, and everyone was really close.
Uh-huh.
And now that Rufus and Punny, or Martha, I should say, are off on tour all the time, I don't get to see them as much, but we were very close, or at least I thought so.
I guess I'm always curious about the younger members of the family. Did you ever go through one of those, rebellious adolescent periods when you rejected the music of your family and said, I'm going to go off and start a speed metal band, goodbye?
I don't know. I don't think I'm not very rebellious, so it hasn't happened, but maybe.
Well, there's a song on the album called Skip Rope Song. It's a Jesse Winchester song. It's a lovely song, and I'd like you to sing it if you will.
All right.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I used to know a pretty girl who cut off all her hair. The scissors flew among the curls, and curls went everywhere. I gathered up the falling locks and carried them away, and put them in a silver box and keep them to this day. Song sing, birdie with the wing, perfect circle song. The grown-ups get to make the rules, and we have all the fun, and we have all the fun.
And now I am in love with you, and hope that you will stay. And to prove that my love is true, I'll throw the curls away. And now I am in love with you, and hope that you will stay. And to prove that my love is true, I'll throw the curls away. And to prove that my love is true, I'll throw the curls away.
Song sing, birdie with the wing, perfect circle song. The grown-ups get to make the rules, and we have all the fun. Yeah, we have all the fun.
That's Skip Rope Song. That is a Jesse Winchester song, and do you have a relationship, a friendship with Jesse Winchester, didn't you? I think that around the time that the Vietnam War, when Jesse Winchester was a draft resistor and went to Canada, is that the first time you met him?
We knew about Jesse because he often used to open for people at this coffee house called the New Penelope. And I remember one night he was opening for the Mothers of Invention, I believe. And nobody was listening to him because he was very introverted, very quiet, a beautiful singer, but,
And
I mean, didn't relate at all to the audience.
Right, they were waiting for
With
Frank Zappa to come and freak
exactly,
out.
with his two drummers.
The two
Anyway,
drummers.
Anyway, but we met him later. It might have been 3 or 4 years later, and he did become a close friend in the late 60s. And he once helped us move when nobody else was around. Kate and I had to get out of this apartment really quickly.
A fine songwriter and a strong back, too.
Yes. Actually, no, he's pretty weak. But yeah, no, but a good person and a great songwriter.
Okay, this has been really terrific. We're going to close out with Goodnight, Sweetheart, but before we do, I want to thank everybody here, Kate and Anna McGarrigle, Martha and Rufus Wainwright, Loudon Wainwright III, I'm going to remember everybody, I swear, Lily Lankin, Chaim Tannenbaum, Michel Pepin, Joel Zifkin on violin and bass, Dane Lankin on vocals. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you very much, Ken.
You forgot our sister Janie, who will be playing the piano on the next song.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Don't forget Janie, Ken.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me do this again. This has been really great. I really appreciate you all coming to play for us. We're going to close out with Goodnight, Sweetheart, but before we do, I want to thank sisters Kate, Anna, and Jane McGarrigle, Loudon Wainwright III, Rufus and Martha Wainwright, Joel Zifkin on violin and bass, Chaim Tannenbaum on any number of instruments, Michel Pepin, and Dane Lankin. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You missed Lily this time.
Oh, no.
All right, let's nail it now, Ken.
All right, sorry, this is all my fault.
Take 47 of
Yeah.
the goodbye.
Yeah.
You're rolling.
All right. This has really been terrific. Thank you so much. We're going to go out on Goodnight, Sweetheart, appropriately enough, also the last song on the McGarrigle Hour CD. First, I'd like to thank everyone here, sisters Kate, Anna, and Jane McGarrigle, Loudon Wainwright III, Rufus Wainwright, Martha Wainwright, Lily Lankin, her father Dane Lankin, Chaim Tannenbaum, Michel Pepin, Joel Zifkin on violin and bass. Have I left anyone out?
No.
No.
No. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good night, sweetheart, till we meet tomorrow. Good night, sweetheart, sleep will banish sorrow. Tears and longing may make you forlorn, but with the dawn, a new day is born. So
Good night, sweetheart. Though I'm not beside you. Good night, sweetheart. Still my love will guide you. In dreams you are, in each one I'll hold you. Good night, sweetheart. Good night.
We've been listening to a live concert with the McGarrigles and the Wainwrights and their friends. A new album containing much of this lovely music is The McGarrigle Hour on Hannibal Ryko disc. Our concert was produced by Naomi Person with Amy Salet and edited by Anne-Marie Baldonado. It was recorded and mixed at Indre Studios in South Philadelphia by Joyce Lieberman with Michael Comstock and Chris Fraley. Special thanks to all the people at Indre Studios and to Darcy Myers at Ryko disc. Coming up, renaming cyberspace. This is Fresh Air. Our picture of cyberspace has been changing rapidly, and with it, the language we use to talk about it. A few years ago, everything was cyber this and cyber that. Now the hot prefix is E, as in e-ticket, e-commerce, e-cash. Our linguist Jeff Nunberg thinks it goes along with the changing view of the technology, as the wide open spaces narrow to a world of niches and portals.
People don't always get new technologies right at first. You can tell from the names they tack on to them. Railroad, for example, which wound up not being much of a road at all. Or radio, which began as a shortened form of radio telegraphy back in the days when everybody thought the medium would be most useful for ship-to-shore communications. I have the sense that cyberspace will have the same quaint connotations a few generations from now. Partly it's that prefix cyber. A few years ago it was all the rage, but now it seems to be yielding to the prefix E, which has spread from email to a host of names like e-commerce, e-cash, e-trade, e-shopping, and so on. The E prefix has a lot going for it. For one thing, it's usually written lowercase even in proper names. That goes nicely with the current style of corporate nomenclature, where people like to hold their capital letters for the middle of the word. It's a good way of suggesting that your company's cutting edge by showing that you're not trammeled by the orthographic conventions of the old wave. When I squint at a list of new stock offerings, it looks something like the table of contents of a collection of modernist poetry, one where Cummings is given a special pride of place. Mostly, though, the rise of the E prefix signals a change in the way people are thinking about the medium. Cyber invokes the romance of the Internet. You hear a word like cybernaut or cyberspace, you think of the wide open spaces like the west of the open range. Whereas that E prefix came into its own when the land rush began and everybody started staking out a little piece of the territory and branding everything they could get their iron on. E-commerce, e-cash, e-trade, those are the words you hear when you hang out around neighborhoods like South Park in San Francisco, where there are 5,000 20-somethings milling around waving business plans for companies to sell nail polish on the web. It's true that cyber is still being used, particularly when people want to avoid the narrowly commercial implications of E. If you do a search on the web, you'll find words like cyber pet, cyber romance, cyber church, and cyber Uzbekistan. And of course, people still talk about cybersex. I don't know exactly what e-sex would be, but I have the feeling it would show up on my visa bill. Still, it's clear that cyber is losing ground to E as the web becomes more commercialized and densely populated. That's the other problem with the term cyberspace. The web may still be a place, but it doesn't feel much like the wide open spaces anymore. Now the talk is all of niches and portals, a word that's become wildly popular in the last year or so. At first it was used just for the search engines and web indexes like InfoSeek and Yahoo, who were trying to grab a spot as everybody's entry point to the internet. Now you hear it used for any site that tries to provide links to a particular type of products or services. Firms are angling to become the gift portal, the travel portal, the real estate portal, and so on. In the tempestuous climate of e-business, the new rule seems to be any portal in a storm. It's true that not all the portal companies are happy about the word. For one thing, it suggests that people might log on to them and then go somewhere else, whereas the companies are trying to provide a range of services that make it unnecessary for anybody ever to leave their site. Or if you are bold enough to venture out on the web on your own, they want you to think of their site as a comforting place you can come back to if you get lost or in trouble. In an interview in the Wall Street Journal, the CEO of Lycos suggested that he'd like their site to be thought of as a hub. I have to say I have my doubts about that one, though. Whenever I hear the word hub, I think of spending 2.5 hours hanging around the Denver or Cincinnati airport, thumbing through copies of Savvy and Trailer Life, and reading dumb stuff while you wait around for your connection. Well, that probably isn't a feature that the search sites want to draw their customers' attention to. And actually, portal isn't a bad way of describing what these sites do. For me, the term always conjures up a hotel I stayed in once in Marrakesh, which was surrounded by a crenellated wall that had a great gate in it. Beyond lay the Medina, a medieval labyrinth of twisted passages, crammed with stalls selling goods of undeterminable provenance and with no guarantees. If you bought something, you were pretty sure you'd never be able to find the place again. And just outside the hotel gates stood local guides who, for a modest fee, would help you to navigate that confusion and return you safely at the end of the day. But it was understood you'd be stopping at their brother-in-law's rug shop on the way. It's a trade that's been doing well for the last millennium or two, so it isn't surprising that it's turning out to be the best business model for the next one.
Jeff Nunberg is a linguist at Stanford University and the Xerox Palo Alto Research Center. My thanks to Terry for inviting me and to the entire Fresh Air staff for guiding me through this week. For Terry Gross, I'm Ken Tucker.
Support for Fresh Air comes from the listeners of WHYY in Philadelphia, where Fresh Air is produced, from Little Brown and Company, publisher of Blue Light, the new novel by author Walter Mosley, in bookstores, and by Columbia Legacy, whose Bob Dylan Live 1966 The Royal Albert Hall Concert documents Dylan's transformation from acoustic folk to electric rock music, available at record stores nationwide. This is NPR, National Public Radio.
On the next Fresh Air, exploring the work of American painter Jackson Pollock. His first major U.S. retrospective in 30 years is being shown at the Museum of Modern Art. We'll talk with Kirk Varnado, the chief curator of the show. Join us for the next Fresh Air.